I've been live the whole time I was cussing at LinkedIn.
Oh, perfect. I love that.
Wonderful.
I'm trying to navigate a dog behind me. Like, okay, let's get another room. We're live.
Okay, well, here we go. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Women and Alcohol. I'm your host, Nancy McKay. I'm a certified life coach helping women who are tired of being on the merry-go-round of overdrinking. You know, alcohol is everywhere, and because of the prevalence of alcohol, it's really easy to start drinking and damn hard to quit when you realize your drinking has gotten out of hand. My guest today, Crystal Dicosola, knows that firsthand, all about that. So Crystal is a mental health warrior, a recovery coach, a registered dietitian, and a speaker. So welcome, Crystal. I'm so glad that you're here with us today.
Hi, Nancy. Super grateful to be here. Thanks so much for asking me.
Oh, you're so welcome. So to our viewers, as we go along today, if you have any questions or comments, just put them in the chat box and we'll get to those as we go along. So Crystal, tell us about yourself and your journey.
Well, goodness. My journey with alcohol, I suppose we're talking about.
Yep.
Huh? So I started drinking back in high school. Just partied on the weekends with my friends. I would consider it fairly normal drinking back then. Weekends when we could get the alcohol. Sometimes we had a hard time finding people to buy us alcohol because we were 16, 17 years old.
Yep.
So I would say just a party girl back then. But even hindsight 2020, looking back right now, I don't think there was something inside of me that always just wanted a little more too. Like when the party was over, there was this nagging urge inside of me, like, let's just go a little bit longer. Let's just have one more.
Yep.
And I can see that now that I'm sober. But at the time, I just figured that that's how everyone felt, or everyone else was thinking the same thing.
Right.
I had a few instances in high school where a little light went off where I thought, man, how come they don't seem as affected that we're not drinking tonight and having a party? Or how come it doesn't seem to bother them like it's really bothering me on the inside? Because I was really looking forward to having a few beers.
Uh-huh.
I could feel that. So there were these little moments where I was like, man, okay, you don't talk about that. So I would say, back then it was fairly normal. Same with college. I had a boyfriend, so it was sometimes party, sometimes not. I would say more than anything for me, it was still that girl liked to party longer. That girl liked to have one more than everybody else. That does stand out for me the most early on in my drinking. I would say overall, I was probably drinking like all my peers that were around me. Yeah. And nothing out of the ordinary. But after I turned 21, I could start buying alcohol. That was when, I would come home and have a glass of wine. I would be able to relax by myself. Right.
Right.
And it was very much, it started with that, very simply, having a beer. And still on the weekends, after college, just going out with my friends, and I probably was, to most people would ask people back then in high school or college, I was a party girl, right? And everyone had fun, and I had a lot of fun too. But it definitely started to progress in my 20s where, I'd have one or two before I went out.
Uh-huh.
Then I'd go out.
Right.
And that little lubricant, would really just allow me to feel this a little more safe or a little more comfortable in my own skin.
Yep.
It would just give me that ease, right? To allow me to be the woman I thought I was intended to be,
Right.
Whoever she was, I had created an image of a woman in my head that I was trying to live up to instead of just really owning the woman, that God had intended me to be.
Right.
And so the alcohol allowed me that grace at the time, seemingly, to just be who I wanted to be. And I also remember coming home and not wanting to be in my own skin. There was a slight discomfort inside of me. It was very quiet, but that first drink just kind of took everything away.
Right.
And I looked forward to that.
Yeah.
That ease and comfort it gave me, that was something that I felt like I really needed because I was so uncomfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of work now, and I see that I really, as much as I have portrayed to the outside world that I had it all together, it made things look really good on the outside. On the inside, I was slowly dying. I was not comfortable. I had low self-esteem, very low self-worth. And alcohol allowed me to continue on, faking it in the world and acting as if I was somebody I wasn't, and not really dealing with the stuff that, some core issues that needed to be dealt with from childhood.
Right.
And, and you don't know better. You don't know what you know until you know. I didn't know any better back then. And
Right.
again, I'm 20 and I'm partying. So who's not doing that? You're single, you're partying, and you're 20. I mean, you're working. And so, but it did, for me, it just continued to progress. And the progression continued. And it was, a couple more earlier, a couple more later at night. Some nights, were obviously very long. I was definitely the girl who was out all night when someone wanted to hang out and do it.
Yeah.
I also struggled with, some subclinical eating disorder at the time in my 20s when I was still drinking, and also, very wrapped up in my self-image. So as I was drinking more wine, more beer, maybe exercising less, I was putting on weight. So obviously the right thing you do is switch to vodka.
Of course.
I mean, that just makes sense. So
no brainer.
So I started to drink vodka more often. And, that was really, rather it was the vodka or the timing or the progression, I don't know. But from there, it just was a slow decline. I did cross, I didn't just stop drinking in my 20s when I noticed something was wrong. I did cross that line where I went from extremely emotionally dependent on alcohol to physically dependent. And the truth was, at any time, at any moment in that span, I did not want to stop drinking, because what would life be without alcohol?
Right.
I had some idea deep down, and there was this little nagging voice that I talk about with people I work with, this nagging voice that just something isn't right. And I knew that.
Yep.
But on the other hand, we drink. We have dinner parties. I wasn't married. I kept thinking about my champagne toast.
Right.
What do you do for the Super Bowl? I mean, I get the chills. These were legitimate concerns in my 20s.
Right.
As my drinking's progressing, but as I'm like, what do you do without alcohol?
Right.
And then I sure in the heck did not want to call myself an alcoholic, because then it felt demoralizing. Because to me I was in my mid-20s. No one else I knew was progressing in any sort of, in drinking in the fashion I was anymore. I knew I was spiraling. And, the shame that comes with that word, and not knowing where to turn. And this was 15 years ago, so it was different. The internet was not as prevalent, hashtag sober curious wasn't a cool thing. I mean, it was the alcoholic that was an old man. It was that idea of the alcoholic. And that was just shameful to me. I mean, how embarrassing, because all my friends are now, I'm going to all their weddings. I'm in their weddings, right? Babies are next. And here's Crystal. So Nancy, and it ended up progressing, and thank God today that it progressed over that line, for me to have to stop.
Right.
But I did become physically dependent, and, that was where, I had to, and I actually got in trouble with the law again, which I have a lot of gratitude for today. I actually got in trouble, was put on probation, and thank God I actually after a year's sobriety, I sent a card to my probation officer and thanked her for what she did for me.
Wow.
Yeah, because I mean, she saved my life, and there was just initially just so much shame and so much pain, and just, just a tough thing. And especially this was, again, I was 28, and this is in the middle of everyone's life taking off. And here I am, having a hard time putting the bottle down.
Wow. That's so compelling, because to have your disease ramp up that young is somewhat unusual. I would wager. I know, I know some younger people who have gotten sober, early. One friend in college, and so I think it's extraordinary when a young person is able to successfully get sober, and to, not only have the awareness that something needs to change, but having the willingness to do that. And I was 52 when I got sober, so I don't know how I could have quit drinking earlier than it takes what it takes, right?
Yep.
But so was there, you mentioned a little trouble with the law. Was that what the catalyst was for you to stop drinking? Okay.
Yep. Because, and again, I remember actually having these thoughts, which seemingly sound insane, probably to people who maybe aren't, drinking or have a problem with alcohol. But I thought I'd rather die than be in a world where I can't drink and have to go to AA meetings the rest of my life. I mean, I didn't know what that was. I didn't know anybody in AA. That was the only type of place you could get, for sobriety at the time. And I mean, to me, the shame, there was just there was so much shame attached to all of this.
Right.
And the truth was, I mean, in all of that, I was fighting to try to go back to normal drinking. I mean, that was the battle, right? I mean, I was trying to go back to, 2 or 3 drinks and reeling it back down and getting back to a baseline, so to speak. And that I couldn't do it because like I said, there's that line that I had crossed at some point, and there's no baseline left for me. There isn't. And the truth is we weren't educated as much like today about just alcohol being an addictive substance, period, no matter who you are.
Right.
And to your point, and I'd like to touch a little bit on my age and getting, sober then. I was also in a grave deal of pain from a lot of things I'd gone through in my childhood that had not been, dealt with. And I do think, and this is just a theory based on being around a lot of people in recovery and different people with sobriety. Sometimes the earlier we get in, we hit a bottom quicker because the pain's really great and we're really trying to numb up some stuff that has not been dealt with.
Right.
And I'm not saying that's an absolute for all people. I mean, I'm speaking for myself and just, some generalization. But I think I kind of went fast and hard for me because there was a lot. It's taken me years of sobriety, recovery, therapy, just so much, self-awareness being gained and learning about myself to just, to be where I'm at today as the woman I am today. It's taken a lot, but I've had a lot of stuff I wasn't aware that I was dealing with, and trauma I had as a child, trauma I had as an adult. Just there was a lot. And so that was just stuff that wasn't dealt with appropriately. And so obviously the numbing for me, I didn't choose food. I wasn't gambling. I wasn't, with a bunch of different men. It was booze. Like that was my jam. That's what I picked up to kind of chill out. There was not the scrolling of social media. I don't,
Right. And so when you're drinking to numb out and it's effective.
Yep. Until it's not, right? It's like it works till
it's really easy for you to go overboard with that. It's one thing, I have alcoholism in my family, so I kind of come by it naturally, but I was a party girl. I wasn't intentionally drinking to numb out. I'm sure that as my drinking got worse, I did. But initially that wasn't part of my program, to drink and numb out. But I think, like you were just saying, when you have trauma in your childhood and that is an effective coping mechanism for you, then it is easier for you to move into alcoholism at a younger age.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yep.
Definitely. So, how did you find recovery, and what does your support system look like, and tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Yep. So after I went, and I actually went into rehab right away. I did go to rehab for 10 days. My mom actually put it on a credit card for me. I still will forever owe her for that. I didn't have insurance at the time. And I was there for 10 days, left, and went to AA meetings consistently. AA was a humongous part. Gosh, I owe everything. I owe the foundation of my recovery to Alcoholics Anonymous. I was a big active part with a sponsor, sponsored numerous women throughout the years. And so that was a huge support system in the beginning. I don't know the exact, but I want to say 8 or 9 years, and I've been sober almost 15. Mm-hmm. And when I moved, and I actually had moved out of Atlanta to Dallas, and I started stepping away from AA. it just for nothing wrong with Alcoholics Anonymous. I mean, there are some things I don't agree with. There's some dogmatic stuff that kind of happens, and that I was a part of because that's just kind of how I was taught,
Right.
for it to be with other people in the room. But I just needed a community somewhere else. The biggest thing I have learned for myself and for others is, part of spirituality being a big part of recovery, and community are the two foundations.
Absolutely.
And that's worked for me. And so my spirituality has not shifted. It's only grown as the years have gone on. But my community shifted outside of it. Actually was a non-recovery community, quite frankly, for many years. I actually joined a CrossFit gym and just found all these amazing women. They drink. But they weren't sober, but they had different things in life that I was looking for, the adventure, and they were women that I aspired to be like. They all had just a great group of women that I found to be just a community that I really could lean on. So, and it worked, so that's, I'm open to all pathways of recovery. I don't know that I could have done that out of the gate first getting sober. Like I said, AA, and not that I maybe would never go back to AA. I'm not sure. But just for me, just finding community and having my relationship with God has been absolutely critical to my recovery, period. And I still have my same sponsor all these years, almost 15 years later. So I still talk to her all the time. So I'm still heavily plugged in. I never take it for granted. My recovery, number one thing every morning, my gratitude list is my sobriety.
Yep.
I would not be who I am and where I'm at today without that, first and foremost.
Absolutely.
Period.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to welcome Rachel and Dara. If you guys have any questions or comments, type them in and let us know if we can answer any questions or anything. So what else changed for you? So you just, you've got this great life now. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it is great, but holy moly, it's not just been easy. Right?
It's not a cakewalk.
I've had to unpack, it was, still 30 years of horrible coping skills, ineffective coping strategies for me, not just drinking, different ways, you learn as a child to cope with things that come up in life. I've had to unpack all of that. I've had to unpack abandonment issues that have popped up. I have been married in recovery and divorced. So I've gone through a divorce sober. And that wasn't easy because, when you get honest, because dang, recovery, if you're in the middle of the bed and doing it right, you have to be honest about your part in everything that goes on. I had to equally own, even though he walked away, I had to equally own my part in, the demise of our relationship.
Right.
And again, it goes right back to unhealed childhood trauma wounds, which is something, and I would like to share that we think of trauma with big T, that something major or catastrophic has happened. Something I'm really getting passionate about educating people on is I had little T trauma, which really is just a million little cuts that happened to me as a kid.
Yep.
That really, really impacted my negative core beliefs of myself.
Yep.
And I have been undoing that for 15 years since I've been sober. And there's numerous reasons, and I've had a lot of therapy and a lot going on, but I didn't just have it. I did have one traumatic event happen to me, but I don't believe that's the only thing that has really led to that negative core belief of myself. Right. There was a lot of little things. And then a lot of little stories happened through middle school, high school, as an adult that continued to feed that exact story somewhere that was created in this little girl.
Exactly.
Of my unworthiness. And I would hold and latch on to all those stories unconsciously. God knows no one wants to consciously, believe that.
Right.
And so I've just been so my recovery has been totally magical and amazing. But on the flip side, I have been working very hard, with a lot of people, skilled therapists, coaches, friends, to just get honest and vulnerable and help to undo some of these unhealthy coping and ineffective coping skills I have, had for the majority of my life. And on the flip side, though, I've just done so much and been able to just achieve so much as well. Outside of that, just as a woman, even in a marriage, physically, athletics have become a huge part of me. I've been, doing marathons. I'm a big CrossFitter. I compete with my girlfriends. Moved to Denver to get out and do more hiking and more 14ers. So in some regards, in all regards, life couldn't be any better than it is today. And I'm still doing the work. It hasn't just gone away.
Right.
It's a lot, but it's rewarding. And I choose that because I also know how quickly I can choose anything else, food, alcohol, laying in bed all day, scrolling, it's a choice to stop those feelings, you know, to really not feel those feelings and to avoid healing versus, you know, trying to live my life 100% fully. With that being said, I still have days where I can fall back. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's, you know, my human nature, you know, after, you know, decades of it, I can still fall back into old ways, but I have quick tools to get me out as soon as possible. That's the difference. It's not days, weeks, months anymore, you know, where I'm down and out. It's hours, maybe a day. And I'm honest about it and I talk about it. And people will say, just give yourself the day. Go for it, Crystal, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly not like we're never going to have another bad day ever again. Right.
Yep.
And I know I had one about 3 weeks ago, and it just, you know, it was stunning to me because it's been a while.
Yep.
You know? And then but I was over it the next day because I talked about it and I allowed myself to be vulnerable and you know, talked about it. And so that it's amazing how that helps. And I love that Rachel is talking about the, you know, the big T and the little T and the distinction between the two. And that is so, you know, I've never heard that before. And you're absolutely right. You know, I've got tons of little T's.
Yep.
You know, and I've got a couple of big ones, but, you know, they're more medium sized probably, but lots of little ones. And it's amazing how, you know, those add up and, you know, just really get to the core of your belief system and how you perceive yourself to be. And it's, it does take a lot of work to unpack that shit, you know, and, you know, we're in the middle of it, you know, and just because we're coaches doesn't mean we've gotten to the other side. Right.
No,
you know,
100%.
It's still a lot of work. And it makes me, you know, having these conversations makes me aware of, you know, how much work I still have to do, you know, which is daunting in some regards and really refreshing in others, because it's like, you know, I know that it's going to be, I don't know. I think it's, you know, it's for me, it's kind of comforting knowing that there's not a finish line that I'm going to cross and then what, right?
Yep.
So there's never a finish line that I have to worry about crossing. And it's just going to be so rewarding learning the things about myself and growing in the process. And, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's really fascinating, I think. You know,
give yourself some grace. That's the other thing.
Right.
Because I think of perfectionism when you say that. I used to be achieving once I got perfect and once I got all my ducks in a row, then I'd be good.
Then,
I really live by that ideal.
Right. Then I'll be happy.
Then I'll be fine. Then I can relax. Then I won't drink as much. Then
exactly.
You know, that's that perfectionism. Like once it's all, you know, and there is giving yourself grace, us, each other, you know, grace in this world to, you know, be on the journey and be vulnerable and talk about where we're really at.
Absolutely.
You know, as women, it's so important. So we can take our shields off and really just be comfortable and understand that we're all on the journey. We're all really struggling, whether, you know, people are talking about it or not. We've all got stuff we're working on.
Absolutely.
You know.
So, tell us how our viewers can get a hold of you.
Oh, yeah. So my company name is Bliss Beyond the Bottle.
I love that, by the way. I think that's fabulous.
Yeah, it was that, you know, my actually Celeste have a sponsee as well. And it was her idea. She's like my ideal client, right? I mean, she was like, what about bliss? I'm like, bliss is that's what we're looking for.
That's
a great word. So my handle, it's www.blissbeyondthebottle.com. Instagram on blissbeyondthebottle.com. So you can even go to my website. And if you want to reach out, you know, definitely just send me an email, say hi.
Great.
I love that.
And what type of clients do you like to work with?
Early sobriety, you know, women who really are early in recovery, really to be able to empower them, you know, to be able to make their own choices. Coaching's a portion, in my opinion, of, being in recovery.
Yep.
It's still empowering them to find the right community for them, the right physical activity for them. It took me a long time. And actually, same with my community has changed in my recovery. So is my physical activity.
Right.
Initially I was doing extremely long distance running, which I still would laugh. Like I was still running from myself, probably ironically in early recovery, but I was running. And, then I switched to kind of medium running, and then I found CrossFit, then I found hiking. So again, my journey has been shifting as I shift. I mean, and as we should, as we grow and adapt, our community shifts.
Absolutely.
And so really as a coach, helping, women early on to build, the community that they want, find that community, help them find the physical activity they want, help them with their eating, if they, all areas of their life really for wellness. But, after, of course, early on, just making sure we get, one day at a time, not, having a drink, and really working through the beginning stages.
Right.
So yeah, early on is good. And also though, with women that have years and that are looking for a change as well, you sometimes get a little sticky after a while, again, kind of like we talked about, and you want to shift, you're not sure what's going on. And sometimes you need validation from people. Sometimes it's just saying it's okay. I think sometimes when you say it's okay, you don't have to, continue to go to that support group if it doesn't serve you anymore. Exactly. It's okay if you can get a new therapist if your work is done with that one. That's totally normal behavior, and then find somebody else or try a different modality. Right. To give women permission to really be able to make those changes and empower them, because I know we all know in our gut what we should be doing sometimes. It took me so long to even have the courage to act on it.
Right.
And still sometimes I can pause and, and still kind of follow the easy path, but really empowering women to trust that gut and really, chase what they really need in their recovery.
Absolutely. And I think hearing that, knowing that, that changes are going to come along all through our journey of sobriety, and that, something that worked for a while may not work for forever. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's when we believe that we're supposed to be a certain way.
Yep.
That's what gets us screwed up.
Yep.
And so being able to embrace the change and to not feel guilty
yes
about moving on or taking a different path or whatever is huge. And maintaining connection is the biggest thing, and where that connection is irrelevant, really, as long as you are getting what you need and giving what you need, then I think that's the ticket. So what else? Anything else that you want to touch on?
Yes, we should talk about the American Cancer Society.
Oh, yes. How did I forget?
Well, I'm excited about that, man. That's a big deal.
That is a huge deal. It's a huge deal. So the American Cancer Society has just come out with a report that says that really abstinence is the best way to avoid cancer.
Yep. It was 1 drink a day per women and 2 drinks a day per men was okay.
For a long time, yeah.
I still am like, how's 14 drinks a week? But that's a lot of drinks per week, especially with something that is. The reason why I'm passionate about that is because it's linked directly to, I believe, 7 cancers. Alcohol. It's not like it's ethanol.
Right, and breast cancer is at the top of it, and I'm an ovarian cancer survivor, and it's not linked to ovarian cancer, but I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they do link it, but it is directly linked to breast cancer, and so it's rocket fuel. We're drinking rocket fuel, and big alcohol companies are trying to make it like it's perfectly normal, and they're following in the footsteps of big tobacco.
Yep.
And so it's a dangerous substance no matter who you are. And, you know, a lot of people can drink it without any ramifications. And,
Yep.
but
Well, we need to be talking at least about what it really is. I mean, everyone knows.
absolutely.
The truth is, I'm not anti-alcohol. We are not educated on all of the information that, the causes, the immune system, everything it does that harms us. Very similar to your point with big tobacco. It was first came out, there was, no health issues, no implications. And it was, it was marketed as sexy and how beautiful and a woman in her dress. And big tobacco was a big deal. And it was not thought to be unhealthy.
And it was, at one point, doctors recommended it.
Yep. I recommend alcohol. I mean, drink a day or something, which, again, go eat grapes if you want resveratrol. Just eat grapes. I promise. As a dietitian, eat grapes. You don't need to drink wine. Well, no, and that's my point. It's not even, like I said, I'm anti-alcohol. No big deal on that. It's more about educating people. Let's just have real conversations.
Right.
Let's just understand what it really is. Just like tobacco. I'm not anti someone smoking. I don't have any bad feelings or ill harm against it. That's a choice, right? I used to smoke forever.
Yep.
Same with alcohol. Let's make sure that everyone's at least educated at the risks, especially as we get older, just have these same exact conversations that we used to be having. It's just marketed now. It's so marketed heavily to women. And then the problem I have with it is women market it to women. And then again, if you have a group of 10 women, and here's my theory on all this is there's 10 women and they're all friends and you guys are going out and have drinks and it's awesome. Like I said, a lot of my girlfriends drink, but the problem is it's so normalized in our society. It's actually weird if you don't drink, which it is truly a little bit, it is backwards. And then my concern isn't most of those women in that group. It's the one woman who's struggling with alcohol and she's afraid to talk about it because it's so normal and she doesn't want to have to stop. And she's uncomfortable because it is so normalized and she is the leper if she believes something is going on with her drinking. So I'm not worried about people who drink in general. It's the woman in the gray area who's struggling right now, with the emotional dependence, maybe physical dependence, and is just afraid to talk about it. And has so much shame and stigma with, if you don't drink, then what's wrong with you? You're moral failure, right? No, you're drinking a highly addictive substance. It may be legal, but it's a drug. It's highly addictive. And there's nothing wrong with you. This is what the substance intent is for addiction. I mean, it's addictive.
Yep.
And so it's so cool to see the American Cancer Society say 0 finally, because that's just part of, again, the bigger picture of people actually starting to get on board saying there's no benefit to this. It's actually harming people.
Right.
And to start having those good conversations with people, I hope just opens people's eyes just to understand.
Oh, it's exciting.
Yep.
It really is exciting.
Yep.
All right. Rapid fire questions.
Woo.
Are you ready?
I am.
What's your favorite food?
Chocolate chip cookie.
Oh, yes.
I just bought some. I'm going to make some tonight.
Nice. And I should come to your house at what time?
Right.
What's your favorite book?
Return to Love, Marianne Williamson.
Nice.
Yep. Love her. Love that book. It changed my way in changed my views on spirituality. And yep.
Beautiful. And what's your favorite curse word?
Oh, can I say it on live TV? Will they block me out?
I don't think so.
Fuck. I like that word.
I do too.
I like to evoke emotion sometimes and it comes out. It has to come out.
Yep. That's my favorite one too. So we're in good company. Very good company. Well, tell everybody again, one more time, what your website is and how they can find you.
Yep. It's blissbeyondthebottle.com, spelled right out.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Great. And my website is Amazing Outlook Coaching, and you can find me there. Nancy at Amazing Outlook Coaching is my email, and drop us a note. Let us know if there's anything that we can do to help you and quit drinking and start living.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Crystal. I appreciate you being here and sharing your story and being open and vulnerable with us. It was truly a pleasure to be with you today.
Thanks, Nancy. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
You bet. All right. Well, that's enough out of us, I think. Thank you so much. We'll see you again soon.
Bye.